You return to camp with nothing. The hunt failed. The berry patch that fed everyone last week is nearly empty. There is no supermarket beyond the trees, no grain shipment, no emergency aid. No refrigerator holding yesterday's dinner. So what happens when the food runs out? The first surprise is that ancient humans probably did everything they could to act before that moment arrived. Food rarely disappeared everywhere at once. More often, one preferred source failed first. The herd moved away. The river stopped producing fish. Fruit ripened poorly. A familiar patch of roots had already been dug over. The question was not simply, is there food? It was, what food is still worth the effort? That difference could decide who survived. Your ancestors were not dependent on one perfect menu. They survived by knowing many possible menus. When large animals were difficult to find, people could turn toward smaller game, fish, shellfish, eggs, insects, seeds, nuts, roots, tubers, fruits, and edible leaves. Not every group ate all of these foods. Environment, season, tools, and tradition matter. The dietary flexibility was one of humanity's strongest defenses against hunger. A remarkable archaeological site called Ohalo II shows how broad that knowledge could be. About 23,000 years ago, people lived beside the Sea of Galilee during the last ice age. The waterlogged site preserved more than 90,000 plant remains from 142 different types of plants. Nearly 19,000 of those remains were grass grains. This was not a landscape where people only waited for meat. They collected a wide range of plants, including foods that required time, recognition, and careful handling. When one food disappeared, another might still be available. But recognizing food was only the beginning. Many wild plants do not offer easy calories. Some seeds are tiny, some roots are hard and fibrous. Some nuts contain bitter or irritating compounds. Some plants are edible only after pounding, soaking, roasting, grinding, or cooking. That means hunger was partly a knowledge problem. You needed to know where to look. You needed to know which season mattered. You needed to know which part of the plant was useful. And you needed to know how to turn something almost inedible into food. Around 30,000 years ago, people at sites in what are now Italy, the Czech Republic, and Russia used grinding tools that preserved starch residues from wild plants. Researchers found evidence that these plants were processed into flour-like material. That discovery matters because it reveals a hidden side of Paleolithic survival. Stone points survive easily, plant meals usually do not. The archaeological record can make ancient life look more dependent on hunting than it really was. A failed hunt was dramatic. A basket of roots was dependable. Researchers sometimes call these fallback foods, resources that remain available, and preferred foods become unreliable. They may take longer to collect, taste worse, or require difficult processing, but they reduce the chance that one bad hunting day becomes a disaster. We cannot assume that every prehistoric group behaved exactly like a modern community. Modern hunter-gatherers are not living fossils, but they show what human flexibility can look like when daily food returns remain uncertain. Now imagine the camp again. One hunter returns empty-handed. Another person finds honey. A woman brings back tubers. Someone else catches several small fish. The group does not need every person to succeed every day. It needs enough different people to succeed often enough. That leads to the second major defense against hunger. Sharing. Human foraging returns can be unpredictable. One family may obtain a large amount of food today and nothing tomorrow. Another family may experience the opposite pattern. Sharing turns separate failures into a shared buffer. A study led by Mark Dybel examined food sharing among active foragers in the Philippines and Benjel Bayaka foragers in the Republic of Congo. The researchers found that households were connected through small sharing clusters, usually involving about 3 or 4 households, inside a wider camp. These relationships help people manage daily shortfalls and longer periods of dependency. The details come from modern populations, not the Paleolithic, but the basic logic is powerful. If people search in different places, the chance that everyone fails at once is lower. If food moves between households, one unlucky day does not immediately become starvation. This is risk pooling. Today's success may help someone else, and their success may keep you alive later. Large foods are especially important. A large animal provides more meat than one person can quickly eat, but hunting success is uncertain. Sharing the surplus protects the group from the uneven rhythm of success and failure. The real ancient emergency supply may not have been a pile of stored food, it may have been a network of people. Storage helped where it was practical, but it required time, fuel, containers, and protection from animals. Mobile groups could not always carry a large pantry, so when local food returns continued to fall, there was another solution. Leave. Movement was not necessarily a desperate final escape. It could be a planned response to declining resources. Research using historical data from Batek hunter-gatherers in peninsular Malaysia examined 93 days across 11 camps. The study found that camp movements were linked to falling foraging returns. People tended to move before the local area was completely exhausted. That is an important correction to the image of starving people waiting until nothing remained. Good survival decisions often happen earlier. A patch was becoming less productive. Travel was taking longer. Gatherers were returning with less. Hunters were seeing fewer signs. At some point, the energy spent searching was no longer worth the food obtained. The group packed its tools, carried children, and moved toward another known place. That decision required a mental map much larger than the camp itself. You needed to remember where water lasted during a dry season, where nuts ripened later, where migrating animals crossed a valley, where another group might allow you to visit, where danger waited. The landscape was not empty wilderness. It was a map of seasonal opportunities stored in human memory. Older people may have been especially valuable during unusual shortages because they had experienced more seasons, droughts, migrations, and failed harvests of wild food. A location that seemed useless to a young forager might be remembered by an elder as the place where edible roots remained during the worst dry year. Knowledge could function like stored calories. But flexibility, sharing, and movement did not make hunger harmless. Sometimes many resources failed together. A severe drought could reduce plants, water, and animals at the same time. Extreme cold could shorten growing seasons. Floods or fire could damage familiar patches. Conflict could block access to productive territory. Illness could prevent people from searching even when food existed. At that point, the body became the final reserve. The body first used available energy, then increasingly relied on fat. As hunger continued, strength declined, thinking slowed, immunity weakened, and the body began sacrificing tissue. Children, pregnant people, injured individuals, and older adults could be especially vulnerable. Some ancient humans certainly died during shortages. Archaeology cannot give us a complete count. Starvation often leaves no simple mark on a skeleton, and many people were never preserved. Survival should not be romanticized. There was no secret route that defeated every famine. There was no ancient wisdom that guaranteed everyone would live. The successful strategies worked by reducing risk, not eliminating it. Eat broadly. Process difficult foods. Share unpredictable returns. Move before a place is empty. Remember the landscape. Maintain relationships beyond one household. And act before weakness makes every decision harder. This is the counterintuitive answer. When food ran out, ancient humans did not always survive by finding something bigger to kill. They often survived by lowering expectations. They ate foods that were slower, smaller, tougher, or less desirable. They survived because a failed hunter could still eat what a successful gatherer found. They survived because the camp did not wait for the final empty day before moving. Their greatest food technology was a flexible system made from landscape knowledge, processing skills, mobility, and cooperation. You return to camp with nothing. For a moment, the empty hands feel like failure. Then someone opens a bundle of seeds. Someone places roots beside the fire. Another person points toward a valley the group has not visited since the last dry season. The meal may be smaller, tomorrow may be harder. But the camp still has options, and as long as people still have options, the food has not truly run out. If you enjoyed this journey into the distant past, subscribe for more stories about ancient humans and human evolution.